All right, guys. Kendra Miller left practice, came back out. He had a little laceration on his face or nose. All good there. So I thought it was a really good practice today. Highly competitive, highly spirited. Guys are working hard, competing against each other. We're getting better as a team.
Yeah, I know you're just blocking out the field, but any impressions on how Mike did today? Seemed like a lot of volume, a lot of body catches.
Yeah, look, I thought overall, I thought Mike looked good, and I think Mike's looked better and better every time he's come out here. And so, I think he's probably getting more comfortable with where he's at. It's, I think we kind of knew that at some point we'd start seeing what we kind of expect out of him, and I think we're seeing that more and more every day he's out here. So it's been good.
Hey, D, not practice related, but Steve Sidwell passed. Just good thoughts.
Yeah, look, number one, I'd say our thoughts and prayers go out to his family. He was a tremendous defensive coach in our league, a ton of success. Led the Dome Patrol defense, which is really the standard of defense for the New Orleans Saints. It's what we kind of aspire to be defensively. So, it's a sad day for our organization. And again, our thoughts and prayers go out to his family.
Dennis, what was the situation on the pick by Alante? Was that like a touchdown-only situation?
No, it was just a normal move the ball situation. I couldn't see everything that happened on that play. It looked like he made a pretty nice play. So, kind of a man coverage on a crossing route. I thought he did a really good job.
Yeah, Rasheed's a little bit close to getting back in the club.
Yeah, we got him out here today. Went through a little bit of individual. I expect him to be out there a little bit tomorrow in terms of the dome, getting used to the lights and everything. I don't know that we'll see him in any real live action or anything like that, but he's certainly getting closer to being back.
Yeah, we didn't see Marshawn today. Anything to?
No, look, no update. He's got. There's nothing structurally wrong with his knee, and it's really more or less us getting him on a little medication to help hopefully calm this thing down. Again, it's not a significant injury, but it's one that you got to kind of battle through a little bit.
A guy like DeMario, how much preseason work or does he need to get back to where he needs to be?
Yeah, I think he needs to be out here practicing, which is what he's doing. I don't expect to see him in the game. I think he'll be ready to go when the season opens up.
With the defensive front, would it be fair to say that just because of the personnel turnover, there's going to be some uncertainty, not necessarily bad uncertainty, but just, there's basically one starter back. And how do you feel like through training camp that's kind of resolved?
Yeah, look, I think the uncertainties probably been answered a little bit in my mind. I feel really comfortable with where we're at up front. We've got a lot of guys that can play in our league, a lot of guys that can play at a high level. I expect us to be able to have a pretty good rotation in there. I feel good about where we're at from a defensive front standpoint.
And with Peyton in particular, may have just been what stood out to me, but I noticed his athleticism on some of those stunts, spinning and really bolting out of the backfield and stuff like that. Is he turning a corner?
Look, here's the thing with the player, all right? He missed a lot of time due to injury. This was really the first off-season that he's had where he's been able to participate fully in everything that we're doing, both from a physical standpoint and from a mental standpoint. And I think you're seeing some of the fruits of that labor. It's hard on a young guy when a young guy misses a lot of time. He's got a lot of catching up to do, and I think he's had a really good camp. I like where he's at, and I think he'll be a player that we're going to be able to count on this season.
How much better in the leadership that Jimmy Graham's shown and has shown as a guy that's been around a long time?
Yeah, I think he provides a lot of leadership for us. We've got some fairly young players in that tight end room. Jimmy's a guy that's been around a long time, been a part of some really good football teams. and played the position at a high level for a long time. And so he understands the game. He understands what it takes to be both a competitive team and to play that position at a high level. So I think that's been important for us.
That seems like Anthony has been coming along. What have you liked that you've seen from him?
Well, I think he's a big, long corner, and I think this game a lot of times is kind of a matchup game, and some of the smaller players that maybe don't have as much length, they can get exposed in coverage. I like the way he's been able to play with his back to the ball down the field has been pretty good.
Dennis, with the new cut down day rule, do you guys have to decide by next Wednesday if you want to put players on the IR list that won't play in the first 4 weeks or whatever? Or?
Yeah, that'll happen. Really most of that all happens on Tuesday. Without getting into all the specifics of everything, we'll make most of our roster moves on Tuesday.
But that doesn't, it used to be that you put a guy on IR heading into week 1 and you'd know he had a 4-week, so with some of these guys, Traquan's
so it's still,
early.
Nothing's really changed.
Yeah.
For a guy to be on IR and return, he's got to be on your initial 53-man roster before you can place him on IR. If you place him on IR before that point in time, then he's not eligible to return.
But if you put him on next Wednesday, he's out till 4 weeks into the season still.
How would you compare different personalities with Carr, Saunders compared to Nathan Shepard? We haven't heard much of Nathan Shepard. He's a quiet assassin.
He doesn't talk a lot. He doesn't talk a lot. He just goes about his business and does his job. Colin's a little more entertaining, I guess. So a lot of different personalities in that room, but it's been a good mix.
Is there any update on Traquan since the last time we talked?
No, he's rehabbing.
And with that, pass block is obviously one of his strongest skill sets. I'm wondering from AT Perry and some of these other guys for wide receiver spots, who stands out in that regard?
Well, I wouldn't say pass blocking was more. I'd say more the run blocking stuff has kind of been something that Traquan's done pretty well for us. And we got a number of guys that can fill that role. Obviously, Keith Kirkwood's a guy that's kind of gone in there and done that. AT's done a nice job in that area, so it's not really a concern of mine.
When a guy has missed an extended period of time like Trey has, does that factor into the evaluation, or is he just a guy you know enough about it?
Yeah, well, look, I think it probably factors in a lot more when you're talking about a young guy or a new guy that you don't really have a lot of experience with. I don't know that it factors in quite as much, when you have a veteran guy. And look, obviously, there's a lot of guys that are out here competing, trying to make the roster, and we have to take all those things into consideration when we get to our final 53.
With the current rule on the cut down timing, have you learned to prefer that compared to the old way where it was in stages? Or?
Yeah, it's much better this way, I believe. A lot of teams have rested starters in the last preseason game. And so when you cut down and you're at 75 and now all of a sudden you're resting starters, it's not a lot of guys that are available to play in the last preseason game if that's what you're choosing to do. So having the roster still at 90 gives you a lot more availability on game day if you're resting guys.
And Dennis, what have you seen, if you watched any film on C.J. Stroud, considering it looks like he's going to play Sunday and also he's going to play in the regular season? Does that help game planning in the future, maybe what you might see as an individual this Sunday?
Yeah, I think some of that will be beneficial just in terms of being able to watch the player and how he operates. How does he see the defense? How does he see coverages? Some of that I think can be beneficial for us, knowing that we're going to play those guys in the regular season. Again, like most preseason games. There's not a ton of game planning that goes into it. We're not necessarily trying to attack Houston's offense or attack Houston's defense. There's a few. Obviously we look at the tape and we'll make a few little adjustments and tweaks to what we do, but a lot of it will be base stuff.
So you mentioned practical reasons for liking the 90 through the last exhibition. I just thought it was interesting that you mentioned that and not the extended evaluation period for some of the guys. Is that just not as big of a deal in this case, or?
Well, yeah. Look, you're getting another opportunity to watch these guys play, and those are going to be the guys that are primarily playing in the final preseason game. So, yeah, there's an extended evaluation that goes along with that. It gives us a little extra time to try to figure out, exactly who we want on our 53. And so, look, we'll go through this game. We'll see where we're at from a health standpoint. We'll see where we're at from a number standpoint. And then we'll pick the best 53 for our team.
That he was asking about you guys seeing C.J. Stroud. You don't have a ton of history of playing preseason games against teams you play in the regular season. I think this was going to be the first time you did joint practices against a team. Do you weigh that? Like, are they gathering too much information if we do that?
It's always a consideration. Both teams are in the same boat,
right?
So they're going to get an evaluation of us. We're going to get an evaluation of them. I don't know that there's a significant advantage gained either way.
Yeah.
So we just go play the games how they come out.
Was that sort of just like an old school rule not to do it, and then you think about it and it's not really that big of a deal, or some people really like to avoid that?
When D'Amico and I talked about practicing together, that was one of the things that we kind of talked about, and both of us were comfortable with potentially working against each other. So I don't see it as a big issue.
Had you done two teams practicing joint practices, if it had been in here because of the heat as opposed to two fields outside, would that have been difficult?
Yeah, well, we would have had to change a few things up, but our intention was to practice outside today against those guys, and then tomorrow we'd be in the dome against them. So, but you have contingency plans. Here in New Orleans, you never know when you're going to get one of these thunderstorms. So, we had a plan either way. All right, thanks.
Thank you, Dennis.
Seen you in a while.
Hey, it's good to see you faces. You smiling, beautiful faces. Good to see all of y'all. I miss y'all.
DeMario, DA said you won't be playing in the preseason game, obviously, but do you feel like you're where you need to be?
Certainly it's good to be back out there with the guys. When you spent 12 years in this game, it's a long season, and so you want to make sure that your body is fully prepared to take on that load and be your strongest at the finish of the season. And certainly without taking preseason reps, sometimes that can feel a little bit different, but I feel like as a pro, you got to know how to get yourself to optimal level, optimal performance. And I think just with our practices going with against our offense, the tempo that they play at, the amount of weapons that they got over there, the way that the coaches are calling plays, it puts you in every situation that you're going to be in the game. And so I think, in practice, I'll be able to get enough reps that I need to be ready week one.
You don't miss games. Have you missed this much practice?
No, you know what? That's interesting. I haven't missed this much practice or this much training camp before. Certainly, you got to think, and I don't know, for whatever reason, but you got to think, man, in year 12, that plane may need a little more runway before it's ready to hit the sky. And I just think, man, I'm grateful, to have a staff that took something that wasn't as serious, but, gave me extra time to make sure that everything was functioning properly. And, now I told all the guys, man, I put in all my vet days. I took all my vacation days. I got them out the way. It's time to work now, so I'm excited.
What are your thoughts on Jalen Smith? I'm sure you've seen him from afar, but is he coming and fit right in pretty quickly?
Oh, absolutely, man. Anytime you're able to get good football players in this league, it's a huge plus. So kudos to the front office in bringing him in. A guy who's had a ton of success. I just think back to the battles that we had with Dallas. Back when we were contending for conference championships, going against them and just watching him be out there lights out making plays. And if you watch him on tape, man, he still got that in him. You look what he did this last preseason game. He still got that explosive firepower in him. And sometimes it's just about ending up in the right situation. And so I definitely think it's going to be a good situation for him here. And it's definitely a good situation for us to be able to have him. So I'm excited about that.
Can you take me into the conversation that you and Jameis were having with the officials after the red zone drill, and what was the resolution? What were you pushing for? What was your plan?
I wasn't really. You don't have to negotiate, man. We down in the red zone, and we known for guarding every blade of grass, man. So, sometimes, guys want to say they in when they not in, and it was just like, hey, what the referee? He get paid to do this. And he said today that they weren't in. So,
officially not in.
That's what the officials say.
Yeah.
So I guess it's official.
Do you see anything different about DA as he gets ready to start his second season as head coach compared to a year ago?
DA, man, is like a fine wine. He just keeps getting better with time. As long as I'm around him, I learn more and more from him. One of the smartest coaches I've ever been around, and I just think he has a great ability to understand what's in front of us that's coming and kind of put us in position for that and make sure that we're prepped. And I just think he takes that awareness that he has and that sharpness and that detailedness and he teaches it to us. And he's always harping on, sometimes it seems like the same things, but you'll see those same things happen in a practice situation or in a game situation. It's like, oh yeah, he told us about that. And so sometimes it's a lot to keep up with, and that's a great thing because you want your leader to be out in front of you. You want your leader to be something that you can look to and learn from. And it's just like, man, when he's talking, I'm taking notes, just because I don't want it to be something that he said that I missed. And I think that just raised our mental IQ for the game. He makes us better football players just by making us better thinkers. We all physically talented, but if you can't think about the game situationally and know what you can and can't do while you're out there, you're going to struggle. And so, being in year 12, having a coach that I can learn so much from, that's a blessing.
Do you sense that he's more comfortable being the head guy than maybe he was just starting out?
I don't think he was. I never saw. If he was uncomfortable, I never saw it. I think he's been here before. He's had a head coaching job before, and now I think any uncomfort. I feel like that's us as players to take that off of him. You got a talented defense, you got a talented offense, and it's for us to be in the right position to go out and make plays. And one thing I know, like having him as a defensive coordinator for all these years, when we're playing good, it helps him be more comfortable as a coach. It helps him, go deeper into his bag of plays to call and be more calm in situations. And so I think that's what helps take it to the next level. But I haven't sensed any uncomfort with him for him to grow from. I think it's a little more swagger on him this year just because it's a little more swagger on all of us for reasons that are undisclosed.
It can be tougher. Like if a coach comes in, is hired because the last coach got fired, it's like a little less pressure at the beginning than it is if a coach comes in to succeed. A very successful coach who just left, it can be a tough spot for a guy like that. And I wonder, how do you feel like his temperament made him well equipped to handle that? It's a little rarer, right, for a new coach to come in right after a successful coach.
Well, firstly, he's not a new coach. He's been doing this, and like we're not looking in the past, we're looking forward. Scripture I've been studying in Joshua, it talks about where God came to Joshua and he said, Moses, my servant, is dead. Get up and let's get ready to take the promised land. And that's how I look at it. Like he's our leader and he's leading us forward, and that's what we're rolling. We ain't looking in the rear view, we're looking at what's in front of us. And man, as I said, we got reasons that are undisclosed while we excited, but we looking ahead. That's all we're doing.
Why are those undisclosed?
Because everybody gonna see it when it's time.
Okay.
I have trouble gauging like vibe and attitude and stuff like that, and how real that is, and how much we can tell from the side of that. Is that something that is legitimately being sensed around here? The confidence and the swagger of this team.
Well, I just feel like if you believe in the Saints and you're a fan of the Saints or you Who That Nation, you should be excited right now. That's all I say. You should be excited.
DeMar, when a team goes out and spends $150 million on the quarterback, does that add to that? Does that change things inside the building?
Yeah, I certainly believe so. You have to have really good quarterback play to be successful in the league. You look at the Super Bowl last year. I think there's no question that those are two of the best performing quarterbacks in the National Football League, and that's why they're in that game. So it's going to be hard to have a conversation where you think you can make it far without great quarterback play in this league. But being able to grab somebody like Derek Carr, for me, for guys like myself and Cam, Tyron, our job is to take that burden off of him. We just want to give him a safe space to come in and be him. I think that was so pivotal for me when I came here, is I didn't step into an organization where I felt like I had to be the guy. It was so many pieces and so many leaders that were in place. Like, all I had to go out and do was play great football. And I put on some of my best tape. And I became, had some of my best years here. And I think the same could be the case for him. And so he's been a phenomenal football player, but we don't want him to come in and think he has to carry the load. We just want you to just come in and do you. This is a safe place. This is a refuge. And when that time is, we put it on your back, it'll happen. Just like I didn't necessarily ask for it to be on my back or be one of the leaders. It transitioned into that. When I came in, I was just trying to play. And I knew I could bring some value. And I think he knows he can come in and bring some value. So, but certainly that plays a huge role.
Now you've had a couple months to be his teammate. What's really kind of stood out about him as a teammate, as a quarterback, whatever?
Number one, I think he's a team guy, and he's a relational guy, and he's a servant leader. So he leads on the field. He takes command of the offense. He gets guys lined up. He's communicating with receivers. He knows how to put everybody in the position, and he knows how to get the ball to different guys in their strength. But also, he's a relational guy. So in the locker room, he's having FaceTime with his O-lineman. He's having FaceTime with his receivers. He's having FaceTime with his running backs. He spends time talking with the defense. Me and him talking almost every day. And so I think that's huge. And anytime you can get another kingdom man in the locker room, it's going to be huge. I think he leaves with his faith out front, and that's one of the most encouraging things that I've seen.
Tamari, I know in the past there's been, the juice boys, bring the juice, that sort of thing. Is there any kind of mantra in the defensive coordinator this year?
That's good. Let's say TBD. Let's say TBD.
Undisclosed.
Undisclosed. Yeah, there you go. There we go. I like that. We didn't even have a headline. Undisclosed. What's coming? What is coming?
The word of the day.
So will it always be undisclosed in terms of, will it ever be spoken, or will it only be seen?
All the above. All the above.
I want to ask about this. We've seen it for a couple of years now, but how much do you enjoy when you guys are down doing the red zone stuff, just talking trash back and forth with AK when the twos are on the field?
When you're seeing that happening, that's telling you the intensity of the competition. Guys aren't just talking just to be talking and just to be loud. Guys are really competing. And then when you got, one of the top running backs in the league competing, you got one of the top receivers in the league competing, top quarterback going against some top corners and XYZ, it's competitive. It's competitive. And these have been some of the most competitive practices that I've been in. And so that's certainly exciting.
Or how do those practices compare to the ones in some of your other teams you played for, as far as just competitive?
Oh, no, I haven't had any practices close to the practices I've had, here in the Saints. And I think that's what speaks to the winning success that's been here. When you look up and you see all those banners, I think that's because of the competitiveness of practice. And we're just trying to find ways to take it up even more. Yeah.
What stands out as far as, I think today was the first perfect 7-on-7 as far as completions go from these quarterbacks, specifically Derek, and how he makes the other quarterbacks better? What makes it difficult through the linebacker lane?
Man, they just have so many weapons. They have so much speed, and Derek is just very accurate. You look at all those plays, all those passes caught, those were all contested catches. So kudos to the tight ends, kudos to the receivers, and kudos to the quarterbacks. It wasn't just Derek. You know, Jameis was on point. Jake was on point. I just think, like, you know, that's the competitiveness of practice. We don't want them to catch passes like that, certainly, but when they do, it just makes you excited. Like, they're in our offenses. You know, they're good.
From the linebacker, forward, I guess, you have a ton of talent, but, I mean, more than anybody, the cuts have to be made. What makes that difficult from your end, and what advice can you give to guys like Summers and Anderson and guys competing for spots or practice spots?
Man, every day you hear just compete. You know, everything is earned, nothing is given. You just got to have that mentality. Somebody told me that when I first came in, I always keep the mentality of a rookie, and he's always trying to earn your locker. And I think when you do that, you're controlling what you can control. The energy that you bring when you show up to work, the energy that you bring when you come to practice, the intensity, the amount of studying that you do, and you put into it. And once you know you gave your best, man, you let it go. You leave the rest. The rest of it is in God control. Because after that, you start pressing, you start worrying. You know, so you don't want to move into that.
What's the challenge that comes with guarding against such a diverse tight end group?
Man, they got so many weapons, and it's great that we getting those looks in practice. When you're going against a vertical threat tight end like Juwan with so much speed, when you're going against a bigger body like Jimmy Graham, when you're going, guys who know how to get open and use their savviness, guys like Foster. I mean, you just got so many weapons. You're getting a look at all kind of tight ends that you're going to see during the season. And, some guys have like one or two of those. To have all three of those, I believe is kind of rare for a tight end room. And it's a special group. Plus, you got a quarterback who knows how to get those guys the ball in their favorite spots. So that's what makes it challenging.
I know we're overtime here, but on Juwan, have you noticed anything different about him? I mean, on the field, he's so active this year. Has his game gotten savvier or anything different?
Man, certainly his game is he gets better every year. I mean, you see the amount of time that he puts in. He's one of the first guys in the building, last guys to leave. The amount of work he puts in the off season. You just see it, like, and the way he competes in practice. He's always full speed. So I think it just speaks to the amount of effort that he puts into his game. Certainly excited to see him perform this year, to stack another good year on top of coming off a big season. We certainly need it. And then also I think he's a kingdom man. He's a believer. He leads with his faith out front. And so, man, I just think when guys have that faith on them, they just look at life from a different perspective. And the victory is found more than on the field. It's found in your identity. And I think when guys have that, they just have something that other people might need.
Thanks, Mario. Season fun.
Hey, here we go. Let's go. God bless.
You did miss us.
I did. Yeah.
We'll have Rugo here. We'll have Ty.
Dave.
I got that red vest stuck in my truck. I'm gonna go out there.
Let's get it.
Already.
We've seen how much they're using you in the slot this year. Has that always been a big part of your game, or is that something that they're featuring a little more here?
I feel like playing in the slot has been a part of my game. I did it in college in a similar system, and yeah.
Is it not something just that you have experience doing it? You think it's a real strength of yours? I mean, is it?
Yeah, I feel like playing in the slot is a strength of mine, and they're just adding on to it,
Yeah.
How do you feel like your camp's going so far?
I feel like my camp is going great. There's still more things that I can do, to solidify, how valuable I am, to this team, not only just defense, but special teams as well.
I know you've been in it for a while, but the number 0, is there any kind of significance to that? Did you have to fight anybody to get it?
I don't know. I just asked Bum. I'm like, hey, who has number 0? Like, who wants this? Man, honestly, nobody's asked me for it. See, I don't know how it looks. I'll take it. I like how it looks. So, and I asked my friends. They're like, oh yeah, you need to get number 0. And then it was like Ugo and 0. It's very similar. So so yeah.
Had you ever won it before?
Never wore 0. The only single digit I've ever wore was number 7. So this would be my second other single digit number in football. 0, yeah.
So I was wondering if it was a name, a little bit of connections. I know you were out in Oregon.
Yeah, my dog. Nah, it ain't. But nah, I like 0 a lot. I really do. How it look to you?
Looks good.
Easy. There it is.
You're the best who's ever worn it.
Appreciate you. Yes, sir. If you're going to do it the first time, you got to do it right.
What about the punt returning? I should know how much that is in your experience, but obviously they like you maybe as a safe hands option in that, or?
I've been doing punt return since I was a kid, and it's something that I never really practiced it. It was just sprung on me. My brothers told me, hey, get back there and catch it. Make the first guy miss and just run like you ain't never ran before. And, just after that, I just always just had a knack for just catching and run. I'm trying to keep everything the same as when I catch the interception, catch it and run.
Speaking of interceptions, I know you got one against the Chiefs, and you weren't here last year, so you kind of get a pass on all the struggles of turning the ball over. But I know that's been a huge kind of emphasis this offseason. So how do you kind of view that in terms of being a ball hawk? And that's a major part of your job as a safety, catching over the
I feel like when you get the ball in general, get causing turnovers, that just increases your chances of winning a ball game. And in this league, it's so hard to get turnovers. And some games, man, we need to get one, and it's tough. But when you do get those turnovers, it's it just increases your chances of getting the offense an extra possession on the field. And I think it's going to be huge for us, because I know we're going to get the ball just because it's showing up in camp right now, and what you do in the dark comes to light. So yeah.
This defense has a lot of veteran leadership, especially a guy like Tyrann Mathieu. How much do you learn from him, and how much can you add to your game from observing somebody like him?
Having a guy like Tyrann Mathieu is huge. I'm not so much of a guy that asks a lot of questions. I'm more of a guy that sees how a person moves about, how they ask questions, how they move in practice, and I've just seen a lot. He's a very consistent player. You can always count on him to do the right thing, and get other people lined up, and you can count on him to take the whole workload, of getting everybody lined up in the whole defense, and having a guy like him is very, very special and vital, because with his presence around, it makes you just want to do better. It wants you, be on your P's and your Q's at all times.
When you're working into the slot, it kind of almost feels like a different position in terms of, yes, you're a cornerback, but there's so many things that you're being asked to do. Is that something where you and Bradley and Yolante kind of spend some time just going over the specific tendencies of that position? Is that a little more difficult?
Yeah, the slot position is very, very tricky, but it's a great position to be on the field, because you can make so many plays, because you're a corner, you're a safety, and you're a linebacker all in one position and all in one play, And I feel like with us three guys that we always pick each other's brain, because some of us, we view certain plays differently, we time some things up differently, but when coming together as one is great for this defense, because we're all talking the same term. We're all connected with the corners at the same time and on the same call as well.
So you make a one-hander during the initial individual drills. I think it was Coach Bird that.
Yeah.
Did he say something? He seemed pretty impressed.
Oh yeah, he said, "Oh, nice catch." I was like, "Yeah, that's the mitts right there." I just said, "That's the mitts."
Anything else?
Thank you.
Beautiful guys, dynamite. There you go.
I'll just cover up. There we go. All right. Howdy. Outstanding.
Eric, did we ever ask you what you thought about Derek's comments that centers are often very grumpy?
You didn't ask me. But you know, I feel like the centers that I've been with here haven't been very grumpy. I feel like that's kind of, throughout the room, we're not super grumpy. But he said that some of the other guys he's played with have been super grumpy.
Yeah, you said you were fine.
Yeah, I try to come in a good mood.
So you're not sore and agitated. I think that's how he phrased it. Sore and agitated individuals.
Sore and agitated is correct, but in a good mood still, or trying at least.
Hey, how you feel like this offensive line is gelling?
Yeah, I would say that we're gelling pretty well. We've gotten a lot of reps together in camp. We've had very few guys miss days, I feel like, and I'm excited for what we can do.
What is the age and experience level that reaches veteran rest day period? Are you choosing not to take one? Have they not given you the opportunity to take one?
Well, you have Ram. That's your veteran rest day. He deserves it. Dog. No doubt. Me, on the other hand, I'm not missing a day unless DC misses a day. That's just how it is. And perfectly fine with me. I love it. We get to work together. We need to work on our chemistry. And personally, I love my other centers, but I want to be the one snapping to them.
Yeah.
So.
You bring that up. Is that something where each quarterback likes a different type of snap? How is that is that a transition you have to kind of figure out?
Under center is fine. Yeah. It's just, other quarterbacks. Some quarterbacks are shorter, some quarterbacks are taller, and you just got to figure out the location. You got Drew. Drew was 6 foot. And you got Jameis, who's 6'3", 6'4". So, just if it's a snap on Drew's hip is a good snap, you put it in the same spot on Jameis, it's at his knee. So, yeah, just things like that.
Gotcha. And spin, stuff like that. Some guys like that, no?
Nah. As long as it's getting back there in a good spot, that's the main thing.
What have you seen from the interior defensive line, like Colin and Nathan going up against those guys every day?
Yeah. I've said this before. I think Colin is a heck of a player. And super skilled, super physical. I saw him in the Chargers game. Quarterback tried to escape out of the pocket, and bro was talking him down. Like, come here. And he's shown that every day in practice, just the type of athlete that he is, the type of player that he is. And I'm really excited for what he'll do this season.
Eric, what role has Derek taken in just kind of taking command of everything at the line, making checks and everything like that? It seems like he's very active.
Yeah.
In that, that's something he wants to do. So, I guess how would you describe it?
Yeah. So I'm not going to give away everything, but I get up, I make an original call, and whether he agrees with it, disagrees with it, because he can see rotations, coverages a lot better than I can, because I'm down, I got to look over other people. So yeah, and then if he agrees with it, cool, we'll just re-point the same thing. If he disagrees with it, he'll make the correction and how he wants to do it. So.
How would you say, is it like having a 10-year vet back there?
Yes,
yes. He sees everything and, yeah.
Yes, great communicator. Honestly, you don't want to get hit either. So, it makes sense that he's on top of it. Cool, appreciate it.
Thank you.